Transformers is back in theaters this weekend for the newest installment in this series, and I'm really excited to talk about this one because it is my favorite movie of this series. Let's get to the review. What is going on, film fans? It is Brad from Let's Be Real Brad, and today on the channel, I want to talk to you guys about the brand new science fiction action movie called Transformers: Rise of the Beast. This is a sequel to 2018's Bumblebee, as these two movies are prequels to the Michael Bay series. So going into this film, I was very optimistic about it, as I snuck it into my top 10 most anticipated movies of 2023, and that is something I wouldn't have normally done because, well, if you look at the track record of all of these movies, they're not very good. But with this movie being a direct sequel to 2018's Bumblebee, which was my favorite Transformers movie at the time, I thought that this movie could be surprisingly good. When you have director Stephen Caple Jr., who directed Creed 2, behind the helm of this movie, I thought that this movie could be really good, and it turns out it was really good. Easily the biggest improvement with this film over the other Michael Bay movies is the fact that this has mostly Transformers the whole time. Once they're introduced in this movie, they never go away, and they are the central part of the film. And if you're a fan of the classic 1984 television show, you will see a lot of the resemblance of the structure of that show and this movie, where it is focused primarily on the Autobots and that there are human characters in it, but they're not at the forefront, which we saw so much in the Michael Bay movies with the government and seeing all these military people trying to fight off these Decepticons. It just became so annoying and just felt like it was just not a part of the movie. One of the big differences from the other Michael Bay films is the fact that you actually know who the other Autobots are. Like, I only knew the other Autobots just because I am a little bit of a nerd. I mean, you see my room, you see my shirt, you see my reviews, you know that I know all the characters. But once you start getting into like the third, fourth, fifth movie, I really didn't know who was in those movies because they're just disposable Autobots. But this movie had a couple of Autobots here that had their own personality. They were all given something to do, and there isn't as many Autobots, so you're able to focus more on this core team, and I really enjoyed it because I felt like each of the Transformers actually just mattered to this movie, and they all had great personality. One of them being Mirage, that's played by Pete Davidson. I know there's gonna be a few people out there that might be really annoyed by his performance just because, you know, it is Pete Davidson. He is really funny, and he could just be a little too much. But in my personal opinion, I thought he was really funny. I thought he played this character extremely well. Speaking of the humor, this is by far the funniest film in the Transformers series, where all the other Transformers movies in the Michael Bay films had some good jokes here and there, but most of the jokes were just so cringy and weird and just made me feel really uncomfortable, especially in like Revenge of the Fallen when the mom eats like pop brownies. Like, why is that in a Transformers movie? And so this movie completely improves on that. Everybody in my auditorium was dying of laughter, and I think it's really well earned because the writing is actually pretty funny. The jokes had great delivery on them, and I was very entertained while watching this film. Stephen Caple Jr. does a great job with this movie, being able to handle the massive scope of this film with all these different Decepticons and Autobots, and he is able to take another big franchise like he did with Creed 2 and also add a lot of emotion into this movie, where there is a certain moment in this movie that really struck a nerve with me, and I could hear it from other people in my audience as well, that was very emotional and got me pretty good. I also really enjoyed the character of Optimus Prime in this movie, as his character is not the same as we have seen him from the Michael Bay movies as this big, massive leader that can just do no wrong. In this movie, he's a little bit more complex, and he actually makes a few mistakes in this movie, and he just feels more down to earth, and it is very different than we have seen from any of the other movies. And I don't want to explore what exactly it is, but I think fans are going to be really impressed with how they handle this character. The action sequences in this movie are really great here, as I felt that the CGI was really good, and the entire time I was believing that all these Autobots are fighting these Decepticons in these massive fields and just destroying everything in sight. You can actually tell what's going on when they're fighting each other, where Optimus Prime can use his sword and hit somebody, and you actually know what he's doing. The editing was actually pretty decent in this movie as well, especially in the action sequences where it really shined. And the final third act of this movie is going to make fans lose their mind. It was a little bit long, but it definitely had this Avengers Endgame type of feel to it, and it was very epic. There's a few surprises that are inserted in there that if you're a fan of the original show, you're going to be really excited about. Unfortunately, I do have a lot of criticisms with this movie, and I do have to start with the story, as the story is very basic. You have seen this 100 different times, recycled in different ways, and I feel like this is definitely the most lacking of the whole entire film, especially when I really enjoyed the first 30 minutes of the movie. Once you get into what the main story is, it just reveals everything that's going to happen in this movie, and the movie is just not as interesting. You're just in it for the fights and the entertainment value, but not with the story itself. And if they're going to do a second film, I do feel that the story is definitely going to be improved, because this feels like a sort of reboot of the Transformers movies to get people back onto these movies. Overall, Transformers Rise of the Beast was a very entertaining blockbuster movie that does everything that you would want from a Transformers movie. It's got great action, great humor, pretty decent performances, and it also has an amazing post-credit scene that made me lose my mind. If you're a big fan of the Transformers movies, you definitely got to see this, and I can't wait to see what they're going to do in the future. I'm giving Transformers Rise of the Beast a 7 out of 10. Thank you guys so much for checking out this review. I just want to know below in the comment section, have you guys seen this film, and what do you think of the new Transformers movies? I can't wait to hear about it. Before you guys check out this video, don't forget to hit that subscribe button, leave a like if you want to, and ring that notification bell so I can see you all in the following video.